Back live on HQ, the Cowboys want to talk to Robert Saleh about their head coaching vacancy, according to NFL Network. Saleh's already interviewed for the Jaguars opening and is also expected to speak to the Raiders later this week. Jerry Jones has also talked to Deion Sanders about the position, according to our Jonathan Jones. Not a formal interview, but they have communicated. Deion, a former Jerry Jones player, won an NFL championship, a Super Bowl with Jerry Jones with those Cowboys back in the mid-90s. Let's get Danny Cannell in here and let's talk Coach Prime. You've been outspoken about him. You ate your crow because a lot of us, I was on the same boat. I thought it would be a total failure again this season. He proved that he can do it at the college level, at least in the Big 12. Has he earned the right to be a candidate here for this job in the NFL in maybe the biggest head coaching position?
No, he hasn't earned anything, but I think throughout the course of history, a lot of guys have gotten opportunities that didn't really earn it.
True.
But you had an owner take a risk on somebody to hire somebody maybe that doesn't have, a resume that's polished, that's perfect. I remember when Sean McVay was hired as one of the youngest head coaches in the NFL. We're like, who's this young guy? He doesn't have any head coaching experience. And what has he done for the Rams to bring them a Super Bowl championship? Deion has won every level he's been. He's won in high school. He won at Jackson State. And he won at Colorado. And behind the sunglasses, behind the gold chains, and behind the quotes, I think he's a really good football coach. And I've always said that. Now, I was wondering if you could get distracted by that, the players would get distracted by that. But he's an intense competitor who knows what it takes to be the best. And a lot of times when you have a player like that, it doesn't translate. We've seen throughout the course of history, in the NBA especially, former players who were great tried to be coaches and it just didn't work. Deion is able to communicate and get the point across to the players that he's coached. So I don't think it is that crazy. I just think it takes an owner who's willing to take that risk. And I think Jerry Jones is the type of guy who would do it.
What if Deion says to Jerry, look, I'll come if I can bring my son Shedeur with me? Is that a deal breaker for you?
No, because I think that's probably the way. When they had this phone conversation the other night, I think that was probably Deion's first question to Jerry Jones was, can we get Shedeur? Can we get my son to come play with me? Because again, we talked about the success at every level. He coached Shedeur in high school, coached him at an HBCU at Jackson State, and coached him at Colorado. And it would just be almost the script that was written in Hollywood for Deion to coach Shedeur. I don't think that's a deal breaker, but I do think it was probably the first question that Deion had for Jerry Jones. And there are only 32 NFL head coaching jobs. Deion is very well aware of that. There's only one star that is on the side of the helmet that's worn by the Dallas Cowboys. It is a unique franchise, which is debatable how much, how attractive that job is, but it is probably the biggest or one of the biggest brands in the sport. Deion is well aware of that, so I think it is a place that if he was offered the job, he would take it with or without Shedeur Sanders as his quarterback.
They've got the 12th pick, so they'd have to move up probably into the top 3, maybe even 2, maybe even 1, if they're going to get Shedeur Sanders. If you were to play matchmaker for the Cowboys, who would be your best fit for this organization right now?
I think it's probably Kellen Moore, who's having a really good time in Philadelphia. He also had a lot of success, and he's familiar with Dak Prescott when he was the offensive play caller there for the Dallas Cowboys. And again, Jerry Jones does like people he's familiar with, that he kind of knows, and he's had some on-the-job training with the Dallas Cowboys, having already spent time there. It reminds me a little bit of the Jason Garrett hire. I think it would probably bring similar results, which has been the Cowboys, the whole story since they've won those Super Bowls back in the 90s. They've been really good. They just haven't been able to take that next step forward, whether it's personnel decisions they've missed on, a quarterback that just felt like they couldn't get there, or a coach who couldn't put you across the goal line. I think that's probably what Kellen Moore would bring more of. That's why I don't think it's that crazy to go with the outside-the-box hire, take a little bit more risk in a guy like Deion, and see if that is what it's been the missing piece for this Dallas Cowboys organization.
Cowboys have, again, the 12th pick in the NFL draft. I want to bring in our college football reporter, Shahan Jayaraja, to talk to us about a Texas quarterback who has just declared. Shahan, what are the chances that Quinn Ewers follows through with what he said over the last couple weeks, that he's done in college and that now he's going to the NFL draft, instead of transferring and maybe making even more money in college?
Yeah, I do think that he probably will follow through, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One, when you look at Quinn Ewers, especially over the last 2 years, 21-5 record, thrown for obviously more than 9,000 yards in his 3-year career. there's just not a lot more to accomplish at the college level. He just isn't somebody who necessarily can raise his stock a whole lot by coming back. The other piece of this too, and this is kind of the blessing and curse of making it to the national semifinals, there's not a lot of teams that are looking for quarterbacks right now. You look at Carson Beck, of course, he's able to connect with Miami, and that I think will be a really good fit for him, but there just aren't that many opportunities left out there. Maybe Ohio State is on the table, maybe Oregon's on the table, but I don't think they're going to break the bank in order to bring in a transfer. Both of them have young quarterbacks that they seem to want to ride with heading forward. And that's the other piece of this. I just don't know that there's another destination that makes a whole lot of sense for Quinn Ewers to go to.
Sean, I'm sure that's what the conversations that Quinn Ewers is having with his people, his agent, his family, is to try to determine exactly what's out there, the opportunities for him in the transfer portal market, and more importantly, to find out what the draft is thinking about him, because you're getting very mixed opinions on, is he a first rounder, where even if you're a top 15 or a late first round pick, I think it's a no-brainer. You go to the NFL, but I've heard some projections have him as a second or third round pick. Even if that's where you fall, then you want to be, from a financial standpoint, you probably do want to go make a couple $1,000,000 even on the low end to play it somewhere else and try to improve that draft stock and also put some money in your pocket. So I'm sure that's what Quinn Ewers is trying to decipher right now. What exactly are the opportunities that are on the table for him? You have to guess at the NFL, but you do know somewhat what college teams would be interested in you. I'll throw one more team in there, the Alabama Crimson Tide. I saw Kalen DeBoer and Michael Penix have a great pairing together in Washington. Bama still has very much question mark at quarterback with Jalen Milroe leaving. So I think that's one other opportunity where you could go, and then maybe you're trying to come back and get that national championship, which I agree with you. Back-to-back semifinals appearances, there's not much left to him to accomplish except a national championship.
Yeah, and right now he's the number 5 ranked quarterback at CBSSports.com in the NFL draft at this point. Again, he doesn't have to go to the NFL now. He could still do like Carson Beck did, come back, transfer somewhere else in college, but Shahan has said that that's likely not going to happen.